And time now to review the morning papers. With us this week is the broadcaster and writer Edward Adu and the author and broadcaster Emma Wolfe, who've been pouring through the Sunday papers for us. Very good to see you both. Thanks so much for joining us. Hello. Let's start with you first, Edward. Obviously, the big splash today is this potential new deal that Rishi Sunak may have done with the EU. And of course, those quotes on the front of the Sunday Times, I'm going to be the Prime Minister who will get Brexit done.
And take, more or less, no pun intended, taking control. And this is connected to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, Rishi, the Prime Minister, has said, look, taking control, it's about the deal. And it's about trying to appease the Eurosceptics, in particular Boris Johnson, who, the former Prime Minister, who has said he's kind of leading the rebellion on this and said, well, look, his initial plans, Brexit is Brexit. This is the deal about the protocol concerning the borders and the EU, that they took action against the government, or as in because it was not in place. Now, fingers crossed, from what this piece is saying, there should be or might be a deal in place either tomorrow or at some point this week. Now, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has said, look, I think everyone recognises and should recognise that this is not about me, this is not about third parties, this is about the people of Northern Ireland. It's even got Jacob Rees-Mogg, the former business secretary and the senior member of the Tory Eurosceptic European Research Group, and he's criticised the plan, and he's criticising it because apparently from what's been said, it was going to be called the Windsor Agreement, and there'd been a proposal for King Charles to meet the EU, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and that meeting's been cancelled. It's not connected to this. So there's some infighting, there's some divide with the Conservatives about this, on how to make sure that some kind of deal can be put in place without the EU squabbling with the government, and most importantly for the people of Northern Ireland, so they can get a deal in place and connected to the border.
Infighting and division over Brexit. Edward, you have to be kidding, right? Of course, the front page of the Sunday.
I know it's too early in the morning to kind of digest this, but I mean, it seems it's like an ongoing story which will never end. It will go on and spiral out of control. But I mean, Rishi, clearly, the Prime Minister, has said, look, I will get Brexit done. It's under my watch. It's got to be done. And he's not going to be influenced by Boris Johnson, by Rees-Mogg, or by anyone else to say, listen, you've got to do it this way or under the original plans. I'm the Prime Minister, and it will happen my way, and it will be done for the people of Northern Ireland.
Well, let's see, hey. I mean, we've seen this before, haven't we? Theresa May, Emma, she managed to agree a deal with the EU, but it's selling it, isn't it, to your backbenchers and to the DUP. And the front page of the Sunday Telegraph already predicting the backbench rebellion being led by Boris Johnson.
Yeah, and there are good moods. There's good mood music coming out of Westminster and bad mood music as well. So as Edward says, Prime Minister's once again poised to launch his new Brexit deal today, tomorrow, this week. And part of this is that he is going to scrap, we think he's going to scrap Boris Johnson's Northern Ireland Protocol bill. Rishi Sunak believes he's secured the fundamental legal changes needed to make that bill, that part of the protocol, no longer necessary. And he says when it was brought in that it was a last resort, that it was necessary at the time, while Brussels were refusing to negotiate on the protocol, but that now that he's secured these changes, everything is safe, and that that part, the Johnson part of the bill, is not necessary. Obviously, Rishi Sunak has angered senior Tories. He's angered his own Northern Ireland minister, Steve Barclay, who is said to be on resignation watch. He's angered senior members of the ERG, some DUP politicians not happy because he hasn't included people. And Sally, I think this is the thing. There is a sense that the content of the bill is actually good. It might actually work with a new deal. It might actually work. It does resolve a lot of ongoing issues, but the handling has not been good. Rishi Sunak has not included people. He's not brought people along with him. He's been very secretive about the content of the bill. So as for Boris Johnson, he's furious. He feels that ditching the Northern Ireland Protocol bill, he says it would be a great mistake. And we have to remember, Brexit is his cherished legacy. He's got a huge ego. He's got immense vanity. he doesn't want to feel that his part of this has been in any way sidelined. So this is really has got Boris Johnson on manoeuvres, and he's leading the charge against it.
I mean, it's extremely complicated, isn't it? And let's be honest, there's no magic bullet. We're looking at exactly the same compromises that are having to be considered, and just hope that all sides can agree. Let's just jump ahead, if I may, Edward, to the front page of The Observer, moving away from politics slightly. So 1 in 100 police faced criminal charges in 2022. I know this is a story that Emma picked out, but I might just jump to you for your thought on this, Edward. I mean, that is a staggering statistic.
And being a Londoner, I've never been stopped and searched by the police. I think when it comes to the credibility of not just the Metropolitan Police, but other police forces, and concerning recent cases which have come to court, and some officers have been tried and they've been prosecuted, it's worrying to think that these types of statistics even exist. I mean, you'd think that the police are there to do their job, to protect, to police, and to do the right thing. But clearly something has gone wrong along the line, and that needs to be questioned. What has gone wrong over the years? Or is it down to the culture? Is it down to this issue where some police officers think that they are bigger and better than the law? And, you know, in particular, living in London, the way the police have, some police officers have treated people within the community. There have been several cases. And I think it's about respect, it's about trust, it's about credibility. And I mean, when you're hearing stories like this, it's about trying to rebuild trust. But I'm sure there might be more stories to come, and it's going to be worrying, not just for the Met or any police force across England, because clearly the commissioners, their intention is for their officers to do the job, and for these types of stories not to leak or to be in the public domain. Yeah.
Emma, a thought from you, please, on The Observer. I mean, you know, the Met Police has had a very, very difficult time recently. A lot of soul searching needed there, calls for change within the Met. But, you know, these figures are for the police force nationwide. And this, you know, article in The Observer is saying that criminal charges against police officers has risen by nearly 600% since 2012.
They're really shocking statistics. I mean, you know, the fact that 1 in 100 police officers, they've absolutely skyrocketed over the past 10 years. Edward there references recent cases. We had the Sarah Everard murder by Wayne Couzens. We've had the shocking case lately of David Carrick, a serial rapist within the force. And, you know, the sense as well that there's a culture of racism and misogyny, and a sense that they are above the law, that these rules don't apply. 1 in 100 police officers, that is a significant number, and we don't know how many more may have committed crimes, may have been, you know, guilty of similar sexual offences, that kind of abusive, offensive messaging. And what I find equally shocking is that the Police Federation, of which every serving officer is automatically enrolled, is automatically a member, is spending millions of pounds a year in legal fees on defending their officers, which is right and proper when they've done nothing wrong. They are defending their officers. And people are saying that they are defending the indefensible, and that they are almost enabling racism and misogyny to go unpunished. So that's a lot of money that is being spent in order to protect many officers who shouldn't be protected, who should be prosecuted.
Yeah, it's certainly definitely a systemic issue by the looks of it, with a worrying picture nationally as well as just within the Met, according to that Observer article. The Daily Star, Edward, has caught your attention this morning.
I mean, where do you go with this?
Tell us more.
To be honest, I know sometimes, I was going to say, is it a slow news day? Clearly not, because we're talking about the Northern Ireland Protocol. But, you know, go woke or go to hell. So if you want to become the devil, you've got to bake. That sums up the story. So as a good Christian Catholic boy, I'm sure my mum will be on standby if I opted to be part of this, and she'd be ready to throw holy water at me, and she will say, if you do that, you'll be disowned by the family. Don't go there, don't go to hell, and don't bake.
Emma, a thought from you on this, if you wish. I mean, the Stars certainly do find alternative headlines, don't they? I mean, where do they find these things?
They do. It's crazy. Every week you wait for the Star, especially the Star on Sunday. I'm afraid the world is difficult enough at the moment, Sally. I tend to stay away from Satanists, so I'm not going to be worrying about their latest recruitment policy or taking their advice or anything at the moment. I can't cope with any more. The weather's bad enough.
Okay.
Emma, you're so wise. Seriously, high five to you on that.
Let's move away from Satanists and let's talk about former secretaries of state, shall we? On the front page of the Sunday People, Edward, Matt Hancock, obviously he's dabbled with reality television. Whether that was successful or not is open to interpretation, but now he's setting up his own TV company.
Yeah, sure. He certainly won't be baking, but I mean, this TV company, I suppose it's easy for him. I mean, I met him a while back. He got me to be part of a diversity panel when he was digital minister, and clearly he loves being on radio, being on TV, and this is an easy option for him to make his own programs if they get commission. It's about forming relationships with those key commissioners across Sky, the BBC, ITV, Channel 5. If he can forge relationships with them and make good programs, if he can make a program bigger than I'm a Celebrity, then I'm sure that's his pension set for life.
Yeah, Emma, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, he's got an incredible amount of experience as a frontline politician. You know, he's got a lot of experience when it comes to policy, health, politics, and he's choosing to go into television. Do you think he'll be successful?
So, yeah, I mean, this is a sitting MP, and obviously I'm a Celebrity runner-up in the jungle, set up this TV company in January called Green Hazel Limited. It's listed for television programming and broadcasting activities. This is the notorious health secretary who was at the helm during the pandemic, during the PPE scandals. He's been in the jungle. He made £320,000 from that, and he should have been at his job, sitting in Parliament, by the way, for serving his constituents. He's also written a memoir, basically, exculpating himself from all the PPE scandals. Richard Burgon, the Labour MP who's campaigning to ban MPs from second jobs, said that this is disgraceful. It breeds cynicism in our politics and shortchanges the public. And I'm afraid I agree with Richard Burgon. I think this is absolutely shocking while Matt Hancock is meant to be serving as an MP. Either he does one or the other.
And very briefly, Edward, do you think he'll be successful at this?
Again, it depends on the commissions. I mean, he's got a lot of material connected to the pandemic and what we've been through so far with COVID. If I was advising him, I'd say, Matt, listen, we've spoken on many occasions.
Quick advice.
Why do something connected to the people? Try and reach out to them.
Okay, Edward, Emma, thanks so much. Certainly, Matt Hancock does keep us talking, doesn't he? We will have more on all of the day's news at the top of the hour, though. Do stay with us.